Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Satyam Raha, and in this video I'll be talking about all the loops in Java. So what is a loop? A loop is basically used to iterate over an iterator. Okay, let's say I have an array. Okay, so if I want to iterate over that array, I will use a loop. Fine. Maybe for example, let's say I have an array, say int array equals say 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5 comma 6 comma 7 comma 8. Let's say now if I want to print all the values, what can I do? Or maybe I want to manipulate the values, or maybe I want to use the values in the array. What can I do? I can maybe use like this, maybe array 1 equals to maybe 6, or maybe I want to say add 1 to each of the elements of the array, maybe for example. So what can I do? I can do like this, equal to, okay, let me use plus equals to, just for plus equals to 1. Okay, and maybe I can copy this statement, right? Let's say I will do 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Okay, right? So 7 elements, yeah, well, 0 to 7, 8 elements, right? So if I do this and if I print the array now, if I want to print the array now, what will happen if I execute this code? Oh, sorry. Yeah, so array cannot be printed like this. I'm very sorry for that. So if I want to print the elements of the array, say I want to check the 0th element, what can I do? I can simply see it is 2 now. The first element has become 2 now. If I want to check what is the last element, say array at index 7, we can see 9. So 8 plus 1 is 9. So it is working fine. But say I have 1000, say maybe 1 lakh size array. If I have to do this, how can I do it? Will I write all the statements like this 1 lakh times? That is like a fool, right? We should not do that. What we can do is we can simply use a loop. So let's first see an example of for loop, which is very famous. So we can write it like this: for int maybe I equals to 0, I less than say here it is 8, I plus plus. Now what is this? So you see, for loop normally takes 3 arguments. What are the 3 arguments? The first one is the initialization part. It has 3 parts. This is not argument. For is not a method, forgive me. So it has 3 parts. Okay, so the first part is the initialization part. All the 3 parts are actually separated by semicolons. Okay, the first part is the initialization part, where I will initialize a variable I to 0 because I want to start from 0. The second one is the condition I is less than 8. So it says how many times should I run the loop, or when should I stop, or till when should I run the for loop. Loop means it will continuously iterate. It will go on iterating. Okay, the same thing will be going on, but till when, that will be decided by the condition. Till this condition is true, that means this is a boolean type part. So it returns true when it is satisfied, and it will continue the loop. But when it is false, when it is evaluated to false, what will happen? The loop will stop. Okay, and I plus plus, this part is the increment or decrement part. We can have plus plus, we can have minus minus, we can have maybe I plus equal to 2, maybe I plus equal to 10. This is the increment or decrement part. To by how much, how many iterations do you want to update the value of I? That can be done in this part. Okay, let's see an example. So here I'm starting from 0 and going till 7. I less than 8 means till 7. That means from 0 to 7, isn't it? So if I now print, okay, not print, if I now do array of I, that means at first it will be 0. So array of 0 equals to, let's do it like this. Now what will happen? In the first iteration, the for loop will iterate for 8 times, right? Because first the value of I will be 0. Second time, okay, first the value of I will be 0. Now it will check whether 0 is less than 8 or not. Yes, 0 is less than 8. So it will execute and it will do what? It will do increment. So I will be incremented to 1, right? Because of this I plus plus. Okay. So in the next iteration, so it will go inside the loop and it will add 1 to the current position of I. So array 0 will be incremented by 1. Array 0 will be updated by 1. Okay. Now in the next iteration, I will be 1. So it will check whether I is still less than 8 or not. Yes, 1 is less than 8. So it will again go inside the loop and it will update the value of array 1. Now this 2, this is the index 1 and it will be updated to 3. Okay. And I plus plus. Okay. Now i's value will be 3. Sorry, i's value will be 2. Okay, in this way it will go on till I7. So when I7 will be there, so here array of 7 plus equal to 1 means this is array 7, right? This is the index 7. So what will happen? This particular value will be updated to plus 1. That means 9. Okay. So after that, this I plus plus will make the value of I to be what? It will make i's value to be 8. Now again it will check whether 8 is less than 8. No, it is false. So it will terminate the loop. It will not execute the line now because i's value is already 8. So this is how a for loop works. Okay. Now if we print this, say if I print array maybe 1, we'll see the changes like before. So 3, array of 1 means this index. Okay, so 2 is already incremented to 3. You can check for any number. So 7, we can see that it has become 9 because the last position was 8. So it plus 1 is 9. Okay, so this is how a for loop works. Okay, so the same task can be done with while loop. Okay, while is another loop in Java. So what we can do is, for doing the same task, what we can do is we can write while. Now there is a subtle difference between for loop and while loop. So in while loop, we can simply write the condition here. Inside the brackets, we can simply write the condition. So I can write maybe I less than 8, nothing else. Okay. Now what is I? The initialization part has to be done before the loop. So int I equals to 0 has to be done before the loop. Okay. And the increment or decrement part should be done inside the loop. So I plus plus. Okay. So this is the difference between for loop and while loop. For loop, inside the brackets, we can have the 3 parts. And remember, in for loop, the 3 parts are not mandatory. You can have nothing at all. You can have simply 2 semicolons that will work fine. Why? Because the initialization is not required, is not mandatory. The condition is not mandatory. The increment decrement part is not mandatory. If you simply put 2 semicolons inside a for loop and you write some piece of code inside the for loop, what will happen is it will be an infinite loop. It will keep on executing because there is no initialization, there is no code check, no conditional checking, there is no increment decrement part. So the loop will continuously keep on executing infinite times. Okay. So you should remember that, right? So okay, coming back to while loop. So this is the body of while loop. You can have the increment and decrement part inside the loop. Inside the brackets of while loop, you can have the condition, and outside the loop, you can have the initialization part, and it will work the same as the for loop has worked. Okay, this is the only difference. Okay, there is another loop which is the do while loop. So you see, in do while loop, what happens is this thing is actually not placed here. We can write do here. We write do here, and when the loop has completed after the curly brace, we actually write the condition while followed by the condition. So do while. Okay, and you see, you have to end this with a semicolon. That is a requirement. Okay, so same like the while loop, we have to put the condition, the initialization before the loop. Okay, and here the increment and decrement part should be inside the do part, do's body, and the condition should be at the end. So inside while. That is why it is called do while loop. Now there is a subtle difference between do while and while. While is an entry control loop, meaning you are checking the condition before you are entering into the loop, right? Just remember how the while loop has while loop was written. While loop was written like this: while I less than 8, like this, right? And after that only we had entered the body, isn't it? So it is called an entry control loop, because while during the entry the condition is checked whether I will get entry to the loop or not. But in do while, what is happening is it is exit control loop. That means you will be first going inside the loop, then only you will check. After iterating once, you will check the condition whether the condition is correct or not, right? So do while loop will run at least once. Although the condition fails, yet the do loop will iterate its body at least once, because the condition is checked afterwards. Unlike while loop, which will which can run even 0 times. Okay, if the condition is found to be false, it will not execute at all, but the do while loop will execute at least once if the condition is false. If it is correct, it will run. That is not a problem. But if the condition is false, while loop will not allow entry, but do while loop will allow entry at least once. Okay, this is while loop and do while loop. Now there is a special kind of loop in Java which is called the for each loop, and this is very powerful when it comes to the collection framework. Okay, the collection framework will I'll talk about that in a later part of this playlist, but for the time being, you can just see how to implement for each loop. You can see we simply write, it is a different version of for loop. We can simply write for followed by a variable like this, maybe int elements, say element followed by a colon, and then we can write the iterator, that is the array. Here the array, right? Array. So we want to iterate over this array. That is why we wrote int element array. Let's change the name of this array. I think you are getting confused with the name array. Let's make it some list. Okay, and let's modify it to list. Okay, so int element colon list, meaning from the list one element at a time would be copied to element. Maybe now you are getting confused with the element word. Let's change it to x for your understanding. Okay, now what happens is for each iteration, one element from the list array will be copied to x and will be iterated. So maybe I can simply print that value over here with say x. Maybe I can print x here. Okay, if I execute the code, you can see all the elements are printed one by one, right? That means the entire list here, the array, is actually iterated, okay, using the for each loop. So you can do it using for loop. How we do How would you do it? You have to do it using like this. You have to maybe write for int I equals 0, I less than 8, I plus plus, right? And inside this you had to write list of I. Same thing. Okay, but here you are using the indices, right? We are using the indices to access the array, but in the for each case it will simply fetch the elements directly. Okay, and one more thing is, while writing the loops or the if else statements also, you have already learned the single liners do not need brackets. Okay, if you want to write a single line under the for loop or if else statement, we do not need to put it under curly braces. Okay, if you put it under curly braces it is fine, but single liners actually do not need any bracket as long as you are writing a single element. You want to include single element under the for loop. Okay, so that, well, I have missed one thing, that is how to write an infinite loop in Java. We can write the infinite loop for loop using, sorry, this is an infinite loop. If you write, say, high, maybe, so this is an infinite loop. If I execute this will keep on executing. Okay, okay, this is an infinite loop. And you can, because why is this infinite loop? Because there is no initialization and there is no condition checking, right? Only way to stop a loop is to give a condition to stop the loop, but here we have no condition, so it will continuously keep on executing. The same can be done using the while loop. We can simply write while true. Okay, so true is basically a keyword in Java, and its meaning is 1. Okay, and that means this condition is actually relational operator, relational kind of thing. That means we'll simply be checking whether this is true or false. So if it is true, say I was in the last example I showed you, like this, I less than 8, that means the relation is being checked and it would have returned true or false. If false, it will break. If true, it will keep on iterating, right? In the same way, if I provide true here, that means it is always true, irrespective of any condition, it is true. So it will keep on executing. If I run this code, so it will keep on executing again. Okay, if I write here false, what will happen? So it will not run at all. It will not run at all. Sorry, what is the error? What did I do? Okay, unreachable code. Yes, so false means it is not going to execute at all. That is why the compiler is saying that it is unreachable code. Obviously it is unreachable, because if I say while false, the loop will not, the body of the while loop will not get executed, right? So that is what you should know. And same can be done with the do while loop. You can simply put true in the while part and it will keep on executing, right? Okay, thank you. See you in the next video. Bye.